Nick Bosa goes number 2 overall to the San Francisco 49ers. How you feeling?
I've been wanting this since the day Jimmy Garoppolo tried to step out of bounds and blew his knee out. That's literally been like, okay, can we get Bosa?
Right.
Can we get Bosa?
That's been the goal since that day.
Since that day.
Right.
Since the day his knee went one way and his body went the other. It's all been about Nick Bosa. That feeling has only strengthened. I purposefully did not talk about Nick Bosa. I did not look up any videos of Nick Bosa. I didn't try to break down tape, no highlights. If there was an interview, I avoided it because I did not want to get my hopes up. And even in the draft, I'm sitting there thinking, waiting for to say, Cardinals draft. And when they drafted Kyler Murray, I'm still like, hold on. Are they going to? And then when it said Nick Bosa, just the feeling of greatness, because I feel like we not only get probably without a doubt, I think the best defensive end prospect of this draft. I think he's up there with Myles Garrett, as a prospect coming out, with Myles Garrett, with Aaron Donald, as one of the best defensive line prospects there is that have come out in the last few years.
Right. As far as value in the draft, do you feel like the 49ers got value for Bosa, considering what their defensive line is expected to be now with the acquisition of a D Ford and now Bosa? You have Armstead still on that line, and then you got a beast, DeForest Buckner, in the middle. He's playing 3-tech, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that's true value for what the 49ers line can be in 2019?
Yes, because I truly think, and this is going to fire some people up, I think right now, and just saying it, they have the best defensive line in football.
Really?
Yes, and I say that straight up. There is not a group that you can say across the board that has the talent that they have.
Seattle
lost Frank Clark.
They did. I didn't think about that. Okay, good one.
Yeah.
What about Philly? Philly has a good defensive line.
Philly has a great defensive line. When I look at, you have Fletcher Cox.
Right.
I would give a little bit better than Buckner. Right?
Right.
But on the edges, who do they have? They still have Derek Barnett, who still has to prove himself. You have what on the other edge? Bennett's gone.
Yeah.
D Ford is probably one of the best edge rushers we had. He would have, if he was a free.
Keep him from going off sides.
Yes, we're gonna have something on him. DeForest Buckner's gonna keep him in line. But when I look at it like this, if all the free agents would have been able, we have franchise tags, and your guy DeMarcus Lawrence,
right?
He probably would have been the number one edge player that would have hit free agency because of his size along with his power,
right?
But D Ford would have been right there with Jadeveon Clowney as the second best edge rusher in that class. So you figure you just got the second best edge rusher. You got a defensive tackle that's a 3 technique that had 13 sacks with what around him. What makes Bosa special, and this is why I can say this, is because is he as physically gifted as Myles Garrett? No, Myles Garrett's a different creature altogether.
Right.
But you have a supreme athlete still. And what made Aaron Donald great is what made Bosa great as a prospect. They are technicians at their craft. They are professional defensive linemen that are college players. And the reason I say that is because Bosa doesn't win with just pure speed. Bosa's not going to just bend the edge and get around you like a Von Miller. Bosa's going to sit there and set you up because he knows in his mind, okay, I have a set of moves, and I can hit this offensive tackle with 2 or 3 moves, and I'm going to get around the corner because of my power and my technique, or I'm going to get inside. And his technique and his power and his presence, you watch any tape of him, and you just see him just with his hand motion. It's almost like you're watching a kung fu movie, if I'm being like, bang,
He's
bang,
a tactician.
bang. He's just such a tactician. Bang, bang, bang. And that defense, by the time that offensive tackle is trying to even just adjust to that, he's gone around him or underneath him. And then on top of that, you have DeForest Buckner. And if you're able to get away from them, you have someone screaming on the other side of the edge. So what Bosa brings is a complement to that defensive line. He is literally, I would say, of the last 3 prospects to come, or the last few years of prospects, he is right there underneath Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald.
And you know what? Bosa's now the 4th pick at the defensive line spot that the 49ers have taken in these last few years.
The 49ers are the only team, and it does crack me up though, I do have to admit, they can literally field 5 first-round picks on their defensive line.
Right?
Even though one wasn't ours, D Ford, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas, and Nick Bosa.
Right.
So As far as picks go, this was the pick I wanted.
The Capitals there.
Yes.
Yeah, they gotta perform now.
This is the pick I wanted. This is the pick I'm excited to have. He builds the defensive line. Now, we would be talking about the Dallas Cowboys first round pick, but they traded it in the beginning of the season or midseason for Amari Cooper. So I'm going to ask you, Dallas Cowboy fan, knowing how that draft folded and how it went out and the prospects were there, would you make that trade with hindsight, knowing everything you know now?
With hindsight being 2020, and for as much as it fucking sucked not to have a first-round draft pick, believe me, I'm still going to go, yeah, I'd do it all over again because Amari Cooper really turned around the Cowboys. I mean, we basically were on a path to finish third or fourth in the division and ended up winning it and going to the playoffs, winning a playoff game. And I think a lot of that has to do with what Amari Cooper was able to bring to the team. And as far as the draft goes, I do have an interesting stat that I wrote down. And of the last 19 wide receivers that were picked in the first round, only Amari Cooper has made a Pro Bowl, and he's made 2.
Dang.
So when you
amazing.
think about it, you were not going to get a first-round wide receiver and have him perform anywhere near the level of an Amari Cooper. So I think the Cowboys really got value for that pick, even if they weren't picking. And you think about some of these wide receivers that have come out of the draft. Laquan Treadwell, they didn't even pick up his 5th-year option in Minnesota. I mean, there's some big, I don't want to go so far as calling them bust, but far and away not a number 1 wide receiver on the team. Doxson.
That's also getting Doxson,
yeah,
too.
Another guy. So if you're telling me, hey, Amari Cooper for a 1, I'll do it all again and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like that was something that really did kind of vault your team. And I guess the question is now for Dallas with that is you got to pay him.
Right.
And that's kind of the trade-off. Do you think that he is going to provide the same value as a player as someone like, let's say you could have had a DK Metcalf or, Deebo Samuel or, the picks that were there? Do you think that his value, even though you have to pay him and he's not on a rookie scale, is going to be enough? Because at the end of the day for Dallas, I look at it like he has to get, they have to win off the players they have. So is he going to provide the value to get you guys back in the playoff?
Yeah, that's a good question. And sitting back, trying to think about that one. And I can go back to what we talked about in an earlier recorded podcast of what makes an NFL player a superstar. Amari Cooper was one of the names that was brought up during that podcast. And I think Amari Cooper is teetering on that NFL superstar status. So at this point, yeah, I mean, why not? Because if you're taking a DK Metcalf, if you're taking one of these top wide receivers in the 2019 draft, let alone the last 19 wide receivers I just named off, you're getting the top value proven in Amari Cooper. Now, yeah, you're not paying him on a rookie wage scale, but at the bottom line, we're not here to see who can save the most money. We're here to see who can win the most games. So, yeah, I'd do it all over again in the first round. Give that first-round pick for a player like Amari Cooper. And you know what? He will really solidify this position if the Cowboys end up winning the NFC East again in 2019.